Hi there, and welcome back to part 10 of Chrono Trigger. Today we are going to be continuing our search to figure out where on Earth we are. And the main place to start that search after finishing Site 16 is here at the Auris Dome. The first time I came here, I didn't actually know if this was where I was supposed to go because there's like a lot of random zigzagging you have to do before you get to the back. And in the back you'll find people that look like they're dying. Man, this place is really depressing. Anyways, they're gonna all be super shocked that somebody showed up who crossed the ruins. Apparently that's a very, very rare sight. So feel free to talk around to the people. Most of them are just gonna be like, "Who are you people? We're starving." Yeah, it's pretty depressing. If you talk to the old man, this guy's like the most important person you'll meet in this weird area. And when I say weird area, I mean this whole time era. And his name is Don. He's gonna tell you that they're basically starving over the food stock. So it's also worth mentioning that talking to these people are very helpful. They'll give you an idea of a bunch of areas that are still on the overworld. For instance, a factory to the east, and this guy will talk about the sewers to the south that will lead to Death Peak. That sounds like a very depressing place. Apparently there's someone there who monitors the place. That guy will talk about the chests. And then if you come over here, you can buy stuff, basically whatever you need to buy. This person sells with exactly the same stuff as the person west of Site 16, so if you didn't buy those items, feel free to pick them up. And then there's also a save point that you can use a shelter at. Why would you use a shelter? There's an Enetron right here. So, I guess it's time to do some further exploring since there's an area down south. First time I played this game, I was like, where do I go next? Because it's not exactly the most obvious place. I actually went to the abandoned sewers first time I played. Yeah, that was rough. That was not fun. Anyways, you can climb down here and this will lead you to an area below. Now you can't go right yet. Instead you're going to want to go left. And this area is actually pretty convenient on the DS version because it gives you a map on the bottom screen so you can kind of map your way through this place. It's a decorative statue. Warning! Anyone approaching the food stocks will be subject to attack. Okay. Well then, I guess we should go to the food stocks, right? Right? Yep. This is gonna be an interesting idea. Oof. Well, I guess that rat statue wasn't kidding. Boss battle time! And your third boss of the game, the Guardian and 2 pods. Warning! Do not, and I repeat, do not attack the Guardian as long as there are pods that are alive. The pods have 200 hit points apiece. So that's 400 hit points you have to knock out before you can attack the Guardian. This boss battle is not hard at all as long as you know not to attack the Guardian as long as pods are alive. If you attack the Guardian while the pods are alive, you are going to take a lot of damage. It's an amplifier attack and it'll deal like 50 hit points to your entire team. So attack the pods. There's nothing more that needs said. Once the pods are down, you can use whatever you want to take on the Guardian and try to attack it as much as possible. However, the Guardian is immune to fire magic. Just keep that in mind. So don't use Luca's flamethrower, don't use Chrono's and Luca's fire whirl attack. Primarily use physical attacks, that's probably your best bet. If you need to, have Marla heal up. And then you'll notice that the Guardian is going to start counting down. And once it reaches 0, the pods are going to revive. If you're a little bit iffy and worried about hitting it once it hits 0, just use Aura Whirl when it hits like 1. That'll give you a chance to heal up, and then have all of your characters on standby to attack the pods as soon as they revive, and get ready to blast them as soon as they revive. If you're at a high enough level, it should take probably about 2 rounds of attacking the pods and knocking them out. And the Guardian has 1200 hit points to knock away, so it is a pretty lengthy boss battle, but it is not difficult by any means. I would say this is definitely your easiest boss battle thus far in the game. Yakra and the Dragon Tank were definitely harder bosses to fight. So that's about it. There isn't really much more to be said about the Guardian. Like I said, just don't attack it while there's pods. Don't attack the Guardian with fire magic. And that's all she wrote. Like I said, probably 2 rounds. Maybe a 3rd round if you're unfamiliar with the boss, but not difficult at all. You'll probably get a level up or 2. And that is the Guardian. So with the Guardian out of the way, we can now go take a look at the food stocks. Well, I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but yeah, the food is rotten. Apparently the refrigeration failed. Well, this just gets more depressing as we go. A dead body. This is really sad. Apparently the body is holding a seed. Huh. I wonder. Talk to the body again. It has an important note. That rat, it's alive. It's alive. And it has information for you. So you can also pick up a mid-ether, and then we could head down and chase this lying rat. It's a lie. So I have a story that goes along with this rat. My friend Majora's fan Nick, who, if you've been around a long time watching my videos, you probably remember him. He first played this game on the SNES with an emulator. And let me tell you something about emulators. Since you're using a keyboard to play the game, pressing 3 keys at one time sometimes doesn't work on keyboards. So he tried using the combo that the rat gives you, L, R, and A, and it wasn't working because of the way keyboards are designed. So this rat is forever known as the lying rat, because he couldn't get past this area in the game. So basically what you use the rat for, it gives you a code, LRA, and you go up to a machine and press it, and it'll trigger this thing, which will let you pass through it. It also works on the left side too. If you want, you can heal up and go save and whatnot at the Enetron. I don't even really need to do that, so I'm just going to continue on. And then we could go further explore this area. Now, there's a bunch of new enemies down here, but oddly enough, none of them are really interesting. The first new enemies that you'll come across are the rats, and you'll also come across an exterminator. Now, rats are very generic enemies. There's absolutely nothing interesting to say about them. You attack them, you kill them, they don't have a lot of health, the end. The exterminators, on the other hand, are a little bit more interesting. What they do is they'll attack a motion source. And when I say a motion source, I mean any motion source, which typically includes rats. The exterminator will typically start off the battle by attacking one of the rats. So exterminators, though they're your enemy, they're also in a weird way your friend. You can use them to help you take out rats. And then if you head up here, there is another new enemy, and that is wow, I can't believe it put me asleep. They are bugs, and like the rats, they're relatively generic. The only thing interesting to note about them is they have a sleep attack, and I have rarely seen the sleep attack work, which is why I'm fascinated that Marla got put to sleep. I have kind of like how using the Allure and the Hypnowave techs themselves, I rarely find those statuses to work from the bugs, so I guess I was just unlucky. Anyways, bugs, like I said, they're not that exciting. Generic enemies. Most of the enemies down in this area are generic, and believe it or not, you can actually avoid combat with just about every enemy on the right side of this area. Ignoring the boss fight, if you wait and are patient, you can avoid triggering any regular enemy fights down in this area, which makes this one of the most low combat areas you can go to because you can dodge just about everything. Now, since it's the walkthrough, I'm going to show you all the fights just so you know where they're at and if you can fight them. And as per usual, I recommend you do fight everything. If you don't fight everything, you might fall behind in levels. For somebody who is new to Chrono Trigger, you definitely want to be fighting everything. That way you are ready to go when the late game comes around. A new enemy that you can find in this area is the version 2.0. Very interesting name. Again, generic enemy. There isn't much to say about it at all. You can also find some shadows down here. Remember, you have to use magic on them. Magic is the only thing that works, so Wind Slash and Flamethrower. There really isn't that many enemies down here that require magic, so basically, you should be using Flamethrower, Wind Slash, and Aura the Hill. Those are the only techs that you're probably going to need in this area. If we head up here, we can find another set of Exterminator with rats. Again, keep in mind the Exterminator will probably hit a rat. Now, depending on where you're positioning, when it attacks a detected motion source, it's a line attack, so it'll hit everything in that line. That's probably the most important thing to mention. Wow, I missed. Rats do have a little bit high of an evasion stat, similar to the bats earlier in the Manolia Cathedral. But compared to the bats, it's not anywhere near as bad. And let's see. There are ways of avoiding enemies. For instance, there's a set of steps up here that allows you to pretty much bypass just about every enemy in this area. You also know you're near the version 2.0s. They make a faint humming sound. It's a very odd noise that they make. The version 2.0s, they do a little bit of damage, but they're often not accompanied by any other enemies, so that makes fighting them relatively easy. Anyways, I think there's like 2 more version 2.0s left, and then we can finally get out of this place. This is a really dull place, not gonna lie. It's probably one of the more boring combat locations in the early game. Like, Truce Canyon and the Guardia Forest were kind of interesting because it was your first time there, but this place is probably one of the more boring places. There isn't much to be said about it. The only real reason we're down here is to check out the food stocks and to just explore, because we were told if you paid attention to what the villager, well, I don't know if villager's the right term, the dome people, if you paid attention to what they were saying, they also mentioned the supercomputer down here, so hey, we can maybe get some information. It is also worth noting that there's another place that you can use this switch and it'll lead to another sealed door that we can check back in the future. Now, I have another story about this game. If you've been watching my videos for a really long time, and I mean a really long time, like way back, maybe 4 or 5 years, I had a DS Lite that had a broken L button. So, it was really hard to press these switches. For the longest time, I couldn't really play this game, and then I had to get like a paper clip and try to stick it inside my DS's L button to trigger the button. It was so difficult to get by this area. So this area, I have a lot of personal hatred memories associated with it. Between lying rats and broken L buttons, this is like my least favorite area in the entire game. Just for that reason. Anyways, we have found the supercomputer, and it has information for us. Yay, Luca's going to ring up a temporal distortion location so that we can find a new time gate. Because obviously I don't think we really want to be here. We want to get back home, but if we go to If you try going back through the time gate, you'll be stopped by guards, and they'll be like, what are you doing back here? So, Proto Dome, that is our next location. And Marla's going to press a button. Whoops. 1999 AD. Visual record of the Day of Lavos. So, Lavos destroyed the world. That means we're in the future. 2300 AD is the current time period, and you'll discover that upon seeing this cutscene. So this is how the world ends. Wow. Change history to save the world? I guess we can. Let's do this. So, you have just witnessed your final boss of the game, Lavos. Lavos is the entity that destroys the world and brings civilization to its knees. Your goal? To save humanity and save the world from Lavos. That is the official and final goal of the game of Chrono Trigger. Let's do it. Alright, with that in mind, we are done here. You can make your way back through this area. I'm just going to backtrack, dodging all the enemies. You can fight them if you feel underleveled, or you can skip them like I did if you're feeling in a good position. I'm skipping it just for the sake of time. Scoot by, scoot by. I'm good. See, you can get through this entire place without fighting anything. Anyways, upon returning, we can talk to the people and give them the seed. They're gonna be like, you returned, alive, unbelievable. We discovered that, yeah, the world gets destroyed 1,000 years after our lives. Not exactly the most pleasant thing to think about. It's a shame that all that is left is a seed to help these people. Hope. Hope. Upon telling him you are off to Proto Dome, he is going to tell you need to pass through Site 32. And he's going to help you out by giving you a jet bike key. That's right, a jet bike key. It is parked outside of Site 32's ruins, and you can ride it to get through Site 32. So our next location is the Proto Dome. Feel free to heal up at an Enertron if you need to, buy anything that you may need to buy, save if you want to save, and I'm going to go to the overworld to explain one last thing before I end up the part. Next time, we are actually not going to be going to Site 32. We are going to be going to the abandoned sewers. This is an optional place that you can go check out. And I'm going to cover it because if you cover it now, you won't have to do it later in the game. So basically, if you do it now, it saves you time in the late game. Otherwise, you could head up to Site 32 and progress the story. But anyways, that wraps up this part. We now have a new mission, and that mission is to save the world. Thank you, and good night.